What is going on, everybody? Sixers get the L in quite possibly the worst Sixers defeat I have ever seen in my entire life as a Sixers fan. 112-88. Some real talk that needs to go down tonight from this loss. Joining me, he is Big Al at Big Al EOP. What's going on, man?
Well, you tell me. I mean, I couldn't tell you what's going on right now. I sat here and was tortured. I should have just never watched this game. Spent Mother's Day doing what I was supposed to be doing with my mother, with my wife. And they were there watching it. I'm like, I feel so bad if they're sitting here watching hot garbage. And that's the only way I could describe this game. I mean, you put up 36 points in an entire half of basketball. Anytime, I don't care if it's regular season, preseason, postseason, it doesn't matter. Hot garbage. Listen, Boston Celtics, Jason Tatum, God bless you guys. You couldn't miss a shot if you wanted to. I think they could have thrown the ball the opposite way, would have come around the other side of the earth and fell in. It would have just happened. But there was no heart on this team. And we said we have Quentin here saying pain. I have a better P word for you. Pathetic. It was a pathetic attempt. This team was out of it by the time that third quarter, like about halfway through the third. This team came down, and there was nothing inside them that said, hey, you know what? I want to play basketball. I don't want this to be the end of it. But they knew it. The announcers knew it. Boston knew it. The fans knew it. And we all knew it. This game was done.
It's like basketball is not hard. You know, the Celtics' best two players were infinitely better than the Sixers' best two players. Joel Embiid, James Harden, we're going to break it down. They were not good enough in game 6 and 7. Like Al said, showed zero heart. How do you come out at halftime down 3 fucking points, go 1 of 6 combined from the floor in the third quarter? That is an embarrassment for the Sixers. Major changes need to be made. Playoff frauds. Harden and Embiid is absolutely real. What is up, Pat?
Yo, Dives. Listen, we're coming up with a bunch of different P words. Well, I have something. Never mind. Anyway, listen. How do you play like that is beyond me. You know, you guys, this is game 7. Your life is on the line here, and you don't even show up, and you are the MVP of the league. You've cried about not being the guy. Now that it's crowned, and you can't even show up for a game 7. You want to show the world why you are the best in the world, and you can't even do it on the biggest stage. I mean, Jason Tatum ripped the heart out of your chest in that third quarter. You guys were showing the white flag then. There was no fight in it, not from anybody. I mean, are you kidding me? Tobias Harris with 19 points out of that whole gang. Are you kidding me? You know, on the second quarter, I said during your guys' halftime show, he was invisible. I mean, he was just hanging on the perimeter, not doing much or anything. I mean, he needed to get the wheels moving. Again, what has happened to this team? I don't understand. But like you said, now that it's going to be an ugly summer for the Sixers. I don't know if Doc's going to be here. I don't know if Embiid's going to be here. I don't know if Harden's going to be here. All these questions are going to start rolling into one, and it's going to look like a pretty ugly summer for the Sixers.
Yeah, we got my man Sean. We did a halftime show. We talked about what should change between the first half and the second half. None of it happened. What's up, Sean?
Yeah, and we wrapped up that halftime show by saying that this second half will be a defining moment for Joel Embiid and James Harden. And look at that. They got the doors blown off them in a way way more embarrassing than I even could have pictured. This wasn't even a heartbreaker that they couldn't quite squeeze it out. It looked like they didn't care the whole time. So this was a disastrous performance, the type of result that commands multiple people losing jobs, multiple people, a complete culture change, a complete personnel change, and that there's going to be a lot caused from that, or at least should be. So I definitely think this is the end of the Doc Rivers era. I definitely think this is the end of the James Harden era. And I think Joel Embiid needs a real look in the mirror, because I've stood up here and defended this guy over and over, but there comes a point where you just can't deny it, where this was a game where it was for the taking. We just watched Jason Tatum drop 51 on the Sixers' head or whatever. That's what a star player does in big games, and Joel Embiid just was not that guy today. So this one hurts for sure, and I'm pretty brokenhearted about it.
Yeah, let's get some comments real quick, and then we're going to talk about Joel Embiid and James Harden, because that's the storyline of this game.
Yeah.
Cody says, blow it up. Major changes need to be addressed. Raw is in the house saying we couldn't buy a bucket was ridiculous. Nick says Tatum and Brown showed up. Embiid and Harden didn't. We're going to talk about that next. Thomas must be a Boston fan. Top 4 teams, second round exit, says Quentin since October. That is 100% facts. I remember it. Cheers. Well done, sir. So Doc is gone, right? We're going to get into that. This is probably going to be a longer post-game show. Sorry, guys. We have a lot of layers to unpeel on this one. Jeff says, why I couldn't follow the game today because I wouldn't be madder than a hornet's nest. Doc fired, Harden released, and B traded for the guy from Denver. All right.
Yeah, that's not happening.
And as a non-Jokic fan, I'm hurting really bad. I've always been an Embiid over Jokic guy. I don't know if I can say that anymore, right? That camp is out the window because if Jokic is playing for the Sixers right now, I'm sure we're having a different conversation because of how Embiid offensively was absolutely in ghost mode. Mike says they quit, trade Embiid now, rebuild. We're going to get into that. Let's get into Joel Embiid and James Harden. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
All right, so everyone can see the shot chart. That is Embiid and Harden, their shot chart in Game 7, man. Just losers mentality. Absolutely losers mentality is what I get from this game. And like I said at the beginning of the show, that third quarter to go 1 of 6 combined showed zero sense of urgency. Just looked so slow. Playoff legacies were on the line. And what upsets me is Boston's not a great team by any means. They had probably the easiest path to get to the NBA Finals with the Miami Heat. And this is what you get. Game 6 and 7, Embiid and Harden shot 32% from the field. That's an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment for the franchise. I don't know if I should be angry or just feel bad for Embiid because Embiid will not recover from this. He is mentally soft. No one can deny that at this point. I'll throw it to you, Sean, first. What was your thoughts on Embiid and Harden? Because I don't know what to say, but they did not look interested from the jump.
Yeah, it was from opening tip. It took until like 3 minutes left of the first quarter where we saw Embiid get his first bucket. Both these guys were attacking with the intent to get to the free throw line, not with the intent to score the basketball, which is something that spirals it. And it's just not a cause for effective offense. And also Joel looked in his own head as we've seen him get to the bread and butter with these mid-range jumpers throughout this whole year. That's been his go-to offense, an incredibly efficient offense, at the high rate that he's hit them. I don't know if it was Al Horford getting in his own grill, figuring things out or whatever it is. Like that bag on the head from Pat there. So I feel that.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if he was in his own head, but I thought we were past the days where Al Horford was the Joel Embiid stopper, and it was on full display tonight. And just the lack of effort. He wasn't that good defensively either. He struggled on that side. James Harden, you called him the most bipolar player you've ever seen in halftime, and that's spot on because I'm over the nights where we see him drop 45 and he looks like the man, and then the next night where it looks like he struggles to know how to play basketball. So that up and down has been brutal. We got the back end of it tonight, and neither of these. We might just have to face the reality that neither of these guys are winners.
All right, they shot 32% in games 6 and 7 combined. They were also a minus 71 combined. Minus 71. Like they just got run off the court. Al, what was your take?
Well, let's look at, all the stats you don't want to see. Tobias Harris was your top scorer at 19 points. 19 points. And Tobias Harris had to be that guy. Couldn't be Harden, couldn't be them. No. It was just god awful. Where was the PJ Tucker rah-rah, grab somebody by the collar and yell at him and shake him? None of that. This team, they left right off where they were at last game. Like you guys said, they were playing to foul. They weren't playing to get to the basket. That was the mindset from the last game. Like it's like, did they think they were just going to roll into Boston and this was going to fall into their lap? Like we all said it here. We all said this. This was probably their best chance in the last however long to go to the finals, and they blew it. You said he was mentally soft. Like, do we have another Carson Wentz type situation? A guy who can't mentally recover from a bad loss, or a guy, or will he build off of this? In my eyes, and being like trying to be real right now, because like every part of me just wants to take gasoline to the Wells Fargo Center and call it a day, because that's where it should be. But trying to be real and realistic at this point, Embiid's gone if Embiid wants to be gone. They're not going to let him roll.
Yeah.
But James Harden better be gone. Daryl Morey should possibly be on there too to go with him, because if anybody's going to keep James Harden, somebody's going to have to step in and say, Daryl, no, this is not going to happen. And that's where this might become a conflict, unless they're going to fire both of them. I don't know even if James Harden's here, because can you imagine this city, how angry they are right now? What would happen if they extend or add or do whatever for James Harden's contract during this offseason?
Yeah,
because it's going to be outrageous.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I'll say about James Harden is, like, anybody watching the last 2 games of this series, you think he's going to opt out? Do you really think he's going to opt out after looking so bad, playing like shit?
I
mean, last game 6 and 7, like, who's going to give him that money after this?
I mean, Houston's the short answer there. I think there's enough smoke there. Like, he's legitimately the owner's son. He's like best friends with. Like, he over All-Star break was on vacation with the owner's son of the Houston Rockets, and it's like and there's obviously good memories there. There's that. If he wants to just chill out and go, he's not a winning player. If that's what he wants to do, if he wants to go hang out for the rest of his career, go live it up, be the man in Houston, go to all the party spots that he loves to frequent, like, that can be his life, and he can make more money doing it. So more power to him if that's the case. The Sixers should not have any part of them want to get into a bidding war if that's the case. This is not a guy that you can ink a long-term belief in. I mean, we saw him take over 2 games in this series, and we also saw him arguably throw away 4 others. So it's like the hot and cold with him is just not worth it, and it's not going to get any better. He's not getting any younger. He's not going to add new layers to his game. He's not going to figure out or take better care of his body. We know who this guy is, and yes, there were moments where he's been like the best co-star that we've seen to Joel Embiid. Even the flashes that are there are worth noting. It was worth a shot for sure, but there's not enough data there or enough support there to be willing to think that this is a successful route moving forward. And I agree that there's a weird going to be conflict of interest kind of situation between the Daryl Morey and James Harden thing. But the bottom line is he can't be in a Sixers uniform next year.
Yeah. What about you, Pat?
You know, it's crazy to me. I'm just thinking about this game and how ugly it's gotten with Embiid on the floor, and when someone else is in control, how much better they play. And I'm not trying to say, I'm not trying to knock on the Embiid door and give him loaded with negativity here, but it is what it is. I mean, that game 1 without him, they played disciplined basketball. They looked solid without him. Now, I get it. The other games he looked pretty good, but still, they didn't have to worry about running through him, because, and you see today, you can't use the knee thing as an excuse. They were going to him, and he still couldn't come up big. He couldn't come up clutch. And so, like, part of me is worried about that. So, I mean, look, I'm not trying to say what it is, but, like, I feel like this whole tank thing with him, it's been a waste of time. 11 years ago, we lost to the same team, Game 7. I guess a whole different parameter, but 3 Game 7s with Embiid, you have now come up short. First game, we all know the 4 doinks, whatever, with Toronto. You get outrun by Atlanta in 21, and now all of a sudden there's no answer for this. I mean, single-handedly, Jason Tatum beat the brakes off of you. You had no answer. He could kick it out to Jaylen Brown. He could kick it to whoever. They had you answer. And Marcus Smart showed the whole Boston Celtics team. He wasn't afraid to go toe-to-toe. And look, it doesn't matter the size difference. He went at, Embiid in this series, ripping balls out of his hands. He wasn't scared of Embiid. He's a thorn in Embiid's side. And that's a problem. And then you saw this team really come on. Al Horford being a problem from the perimeter. We all know Al Horford is like the Nick Foles for the Boston Celtics. That's the only place he shows up. It's just crazy what we've seen. But again, you're going to need, like you said, a major haul in the summer. I don't know what you're going to do, how you're going to make some major moves, but things have to be done. And like Al just said, Daryl Morey might be on that hot seat as well.
Do you want, guys, hold on 1 second, because I want to point out this was record breaking. I mean, you have the guy who should be a Sixer. We had every chance to be a Sixer in Jason Tatum, breaking NBA records. We broke another record. You had the MVP get bounced in the second round. There is nothing but shame at every. You cannot. I don't care how much you polish this turd. You cannot find a shiny spot on it. It is god awful, and this team, like I said, I try not to react emotionally, but that's the only way you can react at this point in time. Here's another stat for you: 82 games, guys. 82 games that we've sat and watched, us and hundreds of thousands of millions of other fans with high expectations. And that's just this year. I'm not even talking about the other years. We sat and watched this happen. We sat and watched get this fool's gold or false hope or whatever you want to call it. And we had to sit there and swallow this garbage. Like, at what point do you just reach down deep inside yourself and say, there is a fan base, a rabid fan base who has given up time, money, and everything else to watch us, to care about us, to give it flying shit about us. And this is where and this is what we're going to feed them. This is the hot garbage that they're going to have to swallow and enjoy it. And when I haven't been listening, and maybe it's changed a little bit. I keep glancing over at my TV here just to see like post-game interviews, whatever. These guys don't even look upset. At least in that Toronto one, like we're like, oh, okay, all right, he's sad, he's crying. Here's Embiid crying. He's having a mature moment, like he saw what he had a chance for. And then that's what I got from him. It's annoying. I'm sorry, it's annoying.
You're muted.
My bad. I'm back. Let me get some comments real quick, and we're going to talk about the future. Because we could talk about Maxey, and I thought he had some moments in this one and what it means moving forward. But I think bigger picture is what we should continue to talk about, because that's the sexy thing to talk about right now, beyond Game 7. Diego says, step 1, fire Doc. Step 2, let Harden walk. Step 3, send Morey with him. Let's go into some more comments. Ryan says, James Harden didn't contribute to being more aggressive and less scoring in isolation. He wants to build around young shooters and talent. Steven, my man, says, how do you not play McDaniels or House? He's hoping for Monty and Dame. GSC says, I'm completely done till the rebuild. I watched every game since 99. I cannot watch Joel Embiid anymore. That was as soft I've seen. Harden is obviously gone. The people clamoring for Dame are just wrong. We can't win with his core no matter what. No single player we add. Blow it up. Ellis wants a coaching change. Let's look into MSD says we have no winning mentality. I completely agree. Steven says there's no Ben Simmons to blame it on this time.
By the way, Ben Simmons posted a nice picture with just a glass of wine watching the game.
Oh, are you serious? Can you pull that up? I want to see that. That's hilarious.
I'll send it to you on Twitter.
Steve says Harden and Embiid cannot play together. Man, keep the comments flowing. I love it. Mako says 80 million combined for 24 points in a Game 7. Tatum 51 in a winner go home game. Absolutely ridiculous, man. This is a tough day. Mark's a disgraceful.
Wait, hold on. We'll go back to what's this, Tommy? You're all tripping. Tripping what? Can you go back? Tommy, please tell me you're gonna expand upon this a little bit. Tell me how we're tripping. How would we should be? Are you a Celtics fan? Maybe whatever it is. Please tell me where we're wrong. Is anybody being mad at this display of what I don't even know what you call that? That wasn't basketball. That's the basketball I grew up to know.
They actually looked good in the first quarter. The ball was moving. They were pushing the tempo a little bit. They got out in transition. PJ Tucker was balling. The shots were there. That's like Game 6. At least in Game 6, the shots were there. We saw that in the first quarter as well, I think, in Game 7. Mark says, disgraceful performance. Embiid is injured, but he should dominate out there at least. The team got embarrassed, and it's a shame. Let's get into the bigger picture here. I love whoever commented on Daryl Morey. Here's my take. I think the easiest thing to do moving forward would be to bring in a new coach and hope that this works. You, bring in a new coach, B, find a way to trade Tobias and try and piece this back together. I'm gonna probably embarrass myself, and I've been wrong 1,000 times that they can't do that. I think they also need to get rid of Daryl Morey. His conservative approach will not work this offseason in the big picture, in the grand scope of this team when it comes to moving forward. I would rebuild. I would 1,000% rebuild. Trade Embiid for value now for whatever you can get. It's going to be a haul. It's going to be a great package. And that's sad because I think that's ultimately the wrong move because it's going to be years from now until they actually get something back together. But the idea of putting Band-Aids on a situation like the Sixers currently have is a mistake. And it makes me so depressed to say that. I'll throw it to you, Pat. What's the big picture of this team and what would you do? What are your like kind of steps?
My first step, and see, you're going to have to move on from Embiid. Like you just said, and I got to give my broadcast partner, Mike Lauer, this credit back in February. He called it. Move on from now. You have to. You don't know what you're going to get. You don't know how healthy he is. You're lucky. And there's, he was about an 85% healthy Embiid today. So there's really no excuse. So right now, I would package him up, get what you can, and rebuild this thing. But I feel like the front office doesn't want to do that because I felt like that you went through the rebuild process through the trust of the process. So I feel like they're just going to get a bunch of cold patch and fill this pile up instead of rebuilding it right again. So I feel like, that's what they're going to do. But ultimately what I want to do, like your original question is, rebuild this whole thing. Rebuild from head to toe. I mean, you take on a microscope from GM, head coach, and star players, and you're going to have to roll with that.
All right. This is Sean shared this. This is Embiid being the coward he is, watching the Celtics game on his couch. What a bitch.
Well, and here's the thing is, like somebody said, you can't blame Embiid. I mean, blame Ben Simmons. You're absolutely correct. You can't blame Ben Simmons. I wasn't even thinking about Ben Simmons until that was brought up. But that's a reason that's a loser mentality. That's what we saw from him. Now we're seeing again, and this is the problem. So unfortunately, we have to do something. Like when you post something like that, you're sitting there enjoying watching your former team lose as your team was bouncing. You couldn't even play by that team. Don't forget, we swept you. Okay. So like your team sucks even worse than we do. So you can sit there and do that all you want and feel good about yourself. Sit there and stroke yourself to, the Sixers are losing badly in the 7th at Boston. You can't win. You're a loser. Suck it.
Ooh.
Kamar says, why did we trade Thibault? There were so many people commenting and
that was the missing piece. I'm out.
Hold on. No. This is not the missing piece. I didn't say that. But there are a lot of people here on this channel, on different channels, making fun of Tiago and I, saying you're going to rue the day you traded Thibault. At least he could be brought in and defend Tatum just a little bit. Jalen McDaniels played 3 minutes the last 2 games. 3 minutes. He did nothing. Exactly. Nobody even knows who that goddamn guy is. And you literally brought him in, and all I heard was guys saying, he's going to be that switchable guy that can put in against Boston. 3 minutes. The guy sucks. Get him out. Sean, what's your take on the big picture?
Yeah, so my big picture, I mean, for starters, I do think Doc Rivers is definitely gone. I've even turned heel a little bit. This was not Doc Rivers' fault. Today was absolutely not Doc Rivers' fault. The issues are deeper from that. But I do think he's the first one that goes and catches the brunt of the blame here. It should always be noted that Doc Rivers was hired ahead of Daryl Morey. This was not Daryl Morey's handpicked choice for head coach, and I think that's going to come back to bite. James Harden is number 2. He absolutely, I think, ends up in Houston, is not on the Sixers. I still think it's on the table that he elects to opt into the player option if he's not feeling the market or if there's not enough smoke to Houston, in which case that he returns next year. I don't want any world where that happens. I don't move on from Joel Embiid unless he requests to trade and forces out. The bottom line is the only reason that you do this rebuilding and tanking is to get a player like Joel Embiid. Was today a performance that I think could absolutely be something he doesn't come back for sure. I think it should be something that permanently sticks to him. I think those are all on the table, but I still think you have to go down swinging. And I think the greater issue here, and you can for sure swing this in a reason to move on to him, but I think the greater issue here is it's incredibly difficult to build around a big man in today's NBA. And when you're just reliant on a guy who you have to force feed the ball into the post and they can clog up the lane to stop him in a way that you just can't do to a Jaylen Brown or a Jason Tatum or perimeter-oriented players, it's hard. So I think the focus needs to be finding guys that are reliable to surround that with. But I still believe Embiid is impactful enough defensively and still does things on a special enough level that you keep him around as long as he's interested. And also the knight in shining armor that James Harden is, had 0 points in the last 3 games in the fourth quarter. So, I mean, it just can't be Harden. For me, I'm still riding and dying with Embiid, as disappointing as today is. I think there's going to be some ugly quotes coming out of the press conference that could change things if he's throwing guys under the bus or whatever.
Oh,
Yeah. But yeah, for the bottom line for me is I think Harden and Doc are out, and that there's a whole lot of evaluation beyond that as well.
Yeah, and to go back to the Embiid thing, I'm not ready to throw him out either. And you're right, Dibes, in a sense. I agree with you. Even after today's performance, his value is probably still high because anybody's going to look at Embiid and say, put him on our team, we'll be fine. Miami would look at him, bring him on down, let him play with Jimmy Butler like they should be playing, and he'd be in a heartbeat. Who wouldn't want to move from Philly to Miami? Who wouldn't want to go to a team that's going to be in the Eastern Conference Final again? They could win it all for all we know. And why wouldn't it? But I don't want to move on from him. Still, even after that, I don't know if I can, unless we are literally agreeing at this moment. Like, if we were the 3 heads of the Sixers organization sitting around a round table here going, all right, what are we going to do? Well, we either have to, it's Esther, get off the pot at this point, well, do we trade him and move into the next generation of, no longer the process is fully dead in the water. We're going to send it out to sea on fire, like a Norwegian, or no, what's it called? A Greek funeral. No, we're not going to do that. Like, or we're going to take him, but get, like I said, I still think he's viable. I think Embiid is viable. Harden is the one I really try to get behind. I try to sit there and defend him a lot, and to my own, but I see it now. Like you said, like he's so up and down. He's so hot and cold. Where do you go with this at this point? And to me, the only thing is, I think he does go. He don't want to be here. I think at this point, you think he's going to want to be here with all the Philly fans just, booing him left and right and talking about him and him, every little move he makes, every strip club he goes to, he gets scrutinized for. I don't think he's going to want to be here unless, like you said, and I agree with you on this one, Sean, is the market's not there. And Houston's like, nah, this isn't worth it to us.
Money is money.
Yeah.
Let's get into Joel Embiid and his legacy, because that's another big picture here. Sean had an awesome tweet. You just can't be as talented, dominant as he is and come up so small in big moments. Just a disappointing effort. What is his legacy? You look at Joel Embiid, years into his NBA career, still doesn't know how to use his height, still doesn't know how to use his strength or weight to his advantage. Everything has to be finesse. Even when he was trying to show strength down low, Boston had an answer, either flopping or doing something else. They made him look bad on several occasions. He looks like one of the biggest frauds of an MVP if there ever was one. He joins the likes of Carmelo Anthony and James Harden as overrated regular season players that can't play on the big stage. I think there's real talk. Whatever happens, if he's in Philly or if he's elsewhere, there needs to be real talk about what this guy's role is. The only way he is actually going to maintain moving forward, he relinquishes the scoring load. He plays less, focuses way more on defense and rebounding. I don't know if that's going to happen given his immense talent. I just don't think it. And I think if you're the Sixers, there's got to be an ultimatum. It's either change your game to anchor the defense and rebounding, or you have to go, because this guy needs to remodel his game and for the better good, because he had 0 legs in this game. You cannot tell me he was not exhausted from the jump. His demeanor, his vibe, his personality was completely gone, literally probably after the first quarter. He looked disinterested, and as someone who has watched every single Sixers game, you can see that is when he's not interested, he is a completely different basketball player. And how many turnovers did he have in this game? He had 4 turnovers. Yeah, he had 4 turnovers. He was a minus 28. He was just checked out. And I'm sorry, but the real conversation is every single year we keep saying the same things. Eventually, it's a pattern. Sean, any take on Embiid's legacy?
Yeah, I mean, to start off with, I'm a Joel Embiid guy. I've watched every single second of his NBA career. I watched just about every single second of his college career at Kansas. I was an Andrew Wiggins guy at that point, so I couldn't stop watching them when they were teammates. And then Joel landed on the Sixers. We've seen his evolution. He embodies the Sixers franchise more so than any player across any team. With all that being said, like, you can't – the facts are the facts, the results are the results, and at some point it's got to stick that he's never been past the second round. He's a guy who has his team on the shoulder, has every opportunity, and just has not been able to do it. My only pushback on kind of what you're saying is I still think Embiid looks at it is the best option for the Sixers team is for him to be the guy with the ball. They don't have these perimeter creators. Yes, Maxey's good. Yes, Maxey's talented. He's on the come up. James Harden, I'm not comfortable saying James Harden go get a bucket at this point, and Joel probably isn't either. So I agree. I think there's very much a world where he can remodel his game, be a force defensively on an every possession basis, be more engaged as a rebounder, and still be a guy who is still effective offensively when they need him to be. But like, he does have to take that reality check and swallow that. I think the Sixers need to find another guy to bring in as whether it's a wing or a guard to provide that type of offense to allow him to be willing to take that step back. But yeah, there's something that's not right. And like I said, I think it's really difficult to build around a big man in today's NBA. And we kind of are seeing that hurdle over and over again.
Yeah, as I said earlier, like there's a reason why we've been yelling at during these shows. Like when the ball goes through Embiid, everything else slows down, and that's when the Sixers are normally at their worst. And it's just mind-boggling to see him just come out so disinterested. I don't know if he was disinterested or what, but he was angry about something, and it's just sad because.
And there's no excuse, the bottom line. Like, no matter what it is, like, this was game 7. This was the moment. This was everything for the taking. This was a statement legacy game for you. It doesn't matter if you were hurt, if something was wrong, whatever. Just show up and play hard basketball, and he didn't.
Yeah, he was 0 of 2 in the paint in the fourth quarter in game 6. I don't know what it was. It didn't matter. The game was already out of reach. But I'll throw it to you, Al. Like, what's your take on Embiid's legacy, regardless of where he is?
I mean, I think today or this series spoke of what his legacy is going to turn out to be, because, you know, we've always said who's going to be. We always said Embiid, Batman, and whoever else was his Robin. You know, Ben Simmons was his Robin at one point. James Harden's going to be his Robin. I don't think he's Batman. I don't think he can be Batman anymore. And I used to think he was the Batman. Like, okay, and we can, and you know, I used to like laugh at people when they'd be like, "Oh, look, they play better without Embiid." And like, I get it. At times they did play better because the game changed. I don't think they play better without Embiid, but they need to play Embiid not in that Batman role, and he has proven that. And if he wants to get championships, you know, he pounded his chest. I'm not an MVP. I got robbed from the MVP. You know, you could take that MVP trophy and, you know, shine it up real nice and put it up on your mantle somewhere, because that I hope he sits there and he stares at it just for the rest of the off. Just stare at that MVP. You're the most valuable player, ... when it doesn't friggin' count. Like, because that's what I see with that. So the MVP or Embiid and all that stuff, that legacy's out the window now. Now you have to either, and I fear this, like I really fear, like I made the Carson Wentz connection, but it's like, you know, can he build up from this? Is he the kind of guy that will just tighten up his bootstraps, build from it, let that, you know, burn in his gut and come out and become a different player and revamp his game? Or is he going to be the guy who mopes? And unfortunately, I think he's the mopes guy. And that's maybe his legacy, is moping.
Yep. Here's Joel Embiid's shot chart in the second half. 1 of 6 from the floor. And unfortunately, it's a shame because, you know, Joel Embiid, as great as he was during the regular season, we never got that Embiid moment in this series, ever. And it is just truly a shame. 1 of 6 in the second half in the biggest game of his life. I know he was fighting injuries and all that kind of stuff, but that's still inexcusable. I showed my tweet earlier. What do the Sixers need? They need a closer. And I agree, Al. You need a Batman in the fourth quarter that can win you a basketball game. And that guy is named Jimmy frickin' Butler. And you had him and you let him the frick go. And I'm still upset about that.
1 year. Over 1 year on a contract. 1 year. Like, that's the thing that really doesn't sit well with me. I say there's always three things that will come back and haunt this process. And two of them are haunting us big time. A, Jason Tatum haunts. He will be the ghost of Game 7 pass for us from here into next year until they can make and if they can make a difference. And then letting Jimmy Butler go is always my number one. The minute they let that happen, I don't know what you saw. Like, we always were like, the question with us was when Ben Simmons was here, when Joel was here, Joel, Ben, and Jimmy were here, we always had a question: who do you want to take the ball with seconds left on the clock to make that final shot? Who do you feel comfortable doing? And I don't think anybody sat there and said, I feel 100% comfortable. It's Joel, yeah. Or it's Ben, yeah. We all know it wasn't Ben. And maybe at times we might have felt Embiid was the guy, but I don't think anybody here would deny that Jimmy Butler was the guy that we would want the ball in his hands at that moment. And for whatever reason, for all the nitpicking BS, that 1 year made a difference. And this goes back to our former regime, our former coach, who was a GM, quasi GM at that point. And they let it go because he didn't get along with Ben Simmons. Now, listen, I get he was your number one pick and all that stuff, but you couldn't figure a way out to make that happen. And you're going to sit like we're sitting here now. My blood pressure is through the roof. My head wasn't this red to begin the show. I'm just going to point that out right now. Now, this is what's going to happen. And we're us, the hundreds of people paying attention at home to us right now, the fans who are leaving Boston Garden who are wearing Sixers colors, and all the people around the Delaware Valley, we're the ones who are paying for it, not those morons.
And
what about you guys? Oh, go ahead, Sean. Sorry.
The worst part about that to me is, like, I feel like so much of this year was about getting the mentality for this team, and we're not in the locker room right now. We don't know what the conversations are, but I do feel like there's a part where it's like the passion of the fan and the people that have stuck around for this amount of time might just straight up care more than a lot of these guys who look at it internally, and that sucks. And like for that to be kind of shown on the floor is just incredibly disappointing.
Yep. Wow. It just dawned on me that PJ Tucker had more field goals than James Harden in this game.
Yeah.
PJ Tucker had, I think, 3 field goals in the first quarter, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
He had 9 points. Yeah.
He had four field goals, 3 threes.
Yeah.
And oh my God, dude, I'm dead. I'm dead inside. This is ridiculous. Kamar says, I knew we were gonna get spanked. I don't even know why I care. No one can ever shoot in Philly. So get John Moran.
Oh, why? Because he posts on Instagram again that he had a gun. I mean, we have enough. We have enough stupidity here at this point. Do we really?
Oh my God, I don't know.
I mean, that's just plain stupid. I mean, it's funny. I'm looking at just the basic stats right now. If you like came back in time with me and held like these stats in front of me, I'm like, oh well, not a bad first half. This is an entire game. An entire game I'm staring at. Like if you showed me, I'm like, oh, okay, not a terrible first half. This is a full game. Sad.
You know who is tied for the team lead in plus minus?
Who's that?
Furkan Korkmaz. Oh my gosh, you can't make that up. Especially like the Sixers, like bones, have been great starting lineup, terrible bench for years. For years. You're looking across the starting lineup for the Sixers today in a Game 7 against Boston, your arch nemesis. Minus 28 for Embiid, minus 19 for DeAnthony Melton, minus 30 for James Harden, minus 11 for PJ Tucker, and then Maxey was a minus 31. Oh, sorry, hold on. Tobias, I'm sorry, was a minus 21. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. This is a monumental loss. Pat, do you have anything?
You got a player of the game, Pat?
No, we're gonna
yeah.
Hold on. I honestly want to know, like in the comment section below, like, are you guys interested in a rebuild at all? Like, are people gonna like tune this team out for the foreseeable future? Because I think that's like pretty legit. Or once they get away from Doc, are you actually going to come back and be interested? Like, I'm really interested in what people think about this team moving forward, because there is a real universe where people check the Sixers out for the foreseeable future.
They become the Flyers.
Well, what is worse though right now? A Flyers team who is garbage and they have to build from the ground up, or a Sixers team that has more question marks than answers?
Yeah, I don't know. This is really is a loss that could set this franchise back like a great amount of time. And as far as interest in the general public, like it's shot. This is the last time that the Sixers were being given the benefit of the doubt. They've lost that right, and they've honestly probably should have lost it a while ago. And the fact that we were still hanging around, it's really disappointing.
The reason I say that is because that's how people felt this time last year.
Right.
A lot of people were already upset that they brought Doc back and here we are a year later. We did get an MVP out of it in the regular season, but it's the same freaking result. At some point, where do we go forward? Like, I feel like we did go forward, but we're going to also take 2 or 3 steps back next year, because I don't know how they rebuild this.
To me, it's just weird. Like, I was listening to you guys talk about the Embiid legacy, and get it. Great, 7'2" monster. He could pretty much body anybody in the paint. He's got a terrific 3-point game that goes with his, with him, and it's just amazing. But your legacy is always going to be a second round knockout. That's all you're going to be known for, and it's a shame. Like, you couldn't go any further for what you have for all this talent. It just couldn't carry you over, and it's a shame, because you're always going to be remembered. Like, if this is the game that people are going to talk about, they're going to talk about the MVP coming up small. That's what they're going to talk about. That's unfortunately, it is what it is. So if they happen some way, somehow remove him from this team this summer to go somewhere else, it's always going to remember here in Philadelphia 76ers history. He was the big guy that always came up small. And it's a shame.
Real quick. I'm on Twitter right now. Top 2 things trending in sports in this area. Ready? Trade Embiid, which no shock right there, because everybody's angry. We're angry. We're jilted right now, right?
Yes.
Number 2, Carson Wentz, because of all the Wentz and Embiid connections. I'm not kidding. I'm staring at this right now. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Kamar says, I'd rather keep Doc and bring in new players. Mike says, bring back 2 players, Jimmy Butler and TJ McConnell. That's not going to happen. Unless Jimmy requests a trade back to Philly after they trade Tobias. I don't know. You never know. Steven says, no rebuild. You have to make this work. Diego says, have to be out on this team until something serious changes. Trade everyone, keep Doc. I love it. All right. Let's wrap it up. Final thoughts, plugs. I'll throw it to you, Sean. Time's yours, man.
Yeah, this one hurts. This one was a gut punch, and I feel like we just keep upping the bar for what a bad Game 7 loss is. But, this one might take the cake for now, and this is the one that should at least kick in the most cause and effect here. But we'll see what happens. I'll have a little bit of time to clear my head and start thinking about some offseason stuff. But follow me on Twitter at Sean_Bernard1. Check out Pick Swap Media for my own podcast and stuff there. I'll be dropping a more composed and thoughts collected edition tomorrow to talk about all that. I appreciate all you guys who have tuned in for anything or followed along for anything this year. And it's been a fun ride. I'll be back around. I'm not done yet. We'll see what the Sixers team that I'll be covering looks like.
Amazing Sixers follow on Twitter if you aren't already. You'll thank me later. He is at Sean_Bernard1. Just the best guy, period. We've already started planning for Sixers Summer League, so tons and tons of Summer League content. Jaden Springer Love Fest coming in July. Don't be expecting that. Pat, you are up, man. Where can we find you? Final thoughts on this one.
Final thoughts on this. Getting off from the canvas is going to take a while. They're going to have a long thinking process from here until June, and realize where are they going to go next for this future of this team. What is going to be? How can they move forward from here? And this is, like I said, 3 times with Embiid in a Game 7 where you came up small. you may have to move on from him as much. And look, and I'm with Sean. I love Embiid, but the realization is I don't know if you can move forward with him. I believe that Doc's going to be gone. I just believe every head coach, when a team goes bad or when the expectations are not met, the the head coach is always going to be the guinea pig. So he's always going to be the one out. And then you have to look for on management. And like you said, Morley might have to be removed if he's bringing guys like James Harden. Again, this was all mirage. This was all we jumped into water and all we hit was quicksand. I mean, this unfortunately it is what it is. And yeah, this is like I said, it may be time to move on from the Embiid era and on to something else. But yes, go catch me on Twitter from Pat from Ambler. You catch me every Sunday morning here on Edge of Philly Sports, PM and the AM show.
All right, man. That is Pat, the best of the best. Al, by the way, we have what? Hold on. First of all, Quentin says trade everyone, keep Jaden Springer. This is my favorite comment of the night. Quentin brings a fire every single post game show.
Oh,
yeah.
Go ahead, Al.
Yeah, and to kind of go along with what you're saying, Sean does great work. I follow him. He's the first guy in the morning I check for Sixers updates.
I appreciate that.
But one thing I do want to point out is Keith Pompey, and I guess they just got doing all the interviews. Doc Rivers expects to coach the Sixers moving forward, and he says he has about 2 years left. Wow! But we'll keep moving forward on that one.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what Daryl Morey has to say about that. Tough answer, no matter what he says there.
Oh yeah, like what are you going to sit there and go, yeah, they're probably going to fire me. I mean, I know you're not going to answer that well, but no, I just thought it was kind of funny that he just puts out this time frame. Let's digest this. We'll see what tomorrow brings. But final thoughts is it's this team. These guys have to look in the mirror and just be like, nah, man, this is not us. This is unacceptable. And accept what the future holds for them. Like, accountability is always a term we use a lot in sports that doesn't happen. And everybody's accountable. Embiid's accountable. Harden's accountable. Doc's accountable. Everybody from the top down, even the guy who cleans the bathroom might be accountable at the end of the day. But in this situation, there's something drastic has to make, and not just like go get Dame. I'll be cool with Dame coming in, but that's not going to be the end all be all answer to this. Like, if all right, well, Harden's gone, finally moved on from him. We brought in Dame, we're good again. No, it's just we might be trading one off for another. We don't know. We don't know what we get in the postseason with these guys. A drastic dynamic has to change, and I agree. I think Dibes, you said it. Like, he has to look at Embiid has to look at himself in that really high, tall mirror and look and say, "Hey, listen, this is on me. This is like a lot on me. I could point all the fingers I want, but at this point, like he needs to either change his ways or maybe change his team. Like those are the only options at this point."
Yep. Freddie says John Maxey. A lot of John Morant comments in this chat.
Well, because the news broke today about him getting in trouble again. Like, oh, that's what we need, another dingbat to come join the team and like do something stupid. So even if he's wowing us in the playoffs, what's it going to do for us if he's suspended?
Yeah, he's about to catch a nice 50-game suspension that'll come with him in the trade. So
he'll work with PJ. We only need him for the playoffs anyway. So we'll just take him then.
Bring back Sam Hinkie, trade job for a treasure chest. Never mind. All right. Nick says, out of 10, what are the chances PJ Tucker's on the team next year and doesn't request a trade?
9.
Oh my God.
I hope he requests a trade. I mean, I think it would be the best thing that PJ Tucker requested a trade. I mean, especially if Harden's heading out, like, let's get rid of this Houston like Rockets layover that we have here in Philadelphia. That's just if he went like no offense, I love PJ Tucker. I really do. I love the heart he brings. There you go. I love the heart he brings. But at the same time, that we all thought that was like the missing piece. This guy who knew how to play in the playoffs. This guy who had the heart. That's one. Where was the heart tonight?
Yeah.
PJ did his thing. He got his 11 points.
I'm not mad at him, but at the same time, his money and space is hurts us.
Quinn says I'm still not on the Maxey bandwagon. I don't believe this is still a hot take. I think we talked about this on previous shows, is that he's just not on the same timeline. I think Maxey has worlds of potential. I love Maxey. I have a hot take on Tyrese Maxey, as Freddie knows in the chat, and we'll never go public with it. But it is what it is. It is what it is. He's just not there. And if the Sixers are in win now mode, they probably need to look elsewhere.
Are they now? That's a question. I mean, Dives, are they in win now mode?
I think, well, that's up to management. And they have major questions to ask. And I hope they ask them. Step one is getting rid of Doc. Step two, management needs to look into Daryl Morey as well and be like, what stop the conservative moves. Stop putting Band-Aids, stop the short-term fixes. Man, I would not want to be part of that franchise right now because they have.
Can I ask a question?
Embiid's one of the best players in the league, no questions asked. But at some point, you need to start pointing fingers and stop, avoiding the questions in the mirror.
Can I ask a weird question? Because usually, he's kind of like the Dombrowski Daryl Morey is to the Phillies. Like, we know there's a GM. They're not really. He's not the GM. Like, do you replace him as well? Like, do you just go clean sweep and go, Daryl, you're out? Put a new GM in there, maybe who knows what they're doing. Like, he's not Elton Brand. Like, or do you just like, well, Elton Brand's harmless. He didn't do anything. Like, I just kind of a weird question that popped in my head. But like, do you also move on from him if you're going to move on with Daryl Morey too? Yeah, hire JJ Redick. Oh man, woo!
I gotta know what this dude's drinking.
He would be shipped out immediately if they brought in JJ Redick because he's not an Embiid guy. I don't think. I think he's more of a analytics, 3-point shots kind of guy.
100%. Yeah, maybe, just maybe.
Yeah. All right. Let's wrap it up, guys. I want to say thank you. For everyone who watched one of these shows, multiple shows, watching this show, please give this video a like, subscribe wherever you're watching. It's been a long journey. The process has been a long journey. Again, we will be back ready and breaking it all down for the Summer League once that goes down in a couple months, about a month and a half, roughly. It's May 14th. So as much as someone who loves player development, that is me. I can't wait for that. Me and Sean will be breaking that down. But there's a lot of questions to be asked. There's a lot of answers to be answered. We're probably not going to get any of them for a while, but I'm excited to watch this Doc Rivers press conference because I'm sure there's some doozies in that one where he's deflecting and blaming everyone else. Sorry, I don't want to go into that. Again, follow my man Pat at Pat from Ambler, Sean at Sean_Bernard1. He is Big Al at Big Al EOP. I am Dives, Mr. Crockpot. We'll catch you on the next one. Stay awesome, everyone.